All right, everybody, welcome to Let's Talk WandaVision, and this is the first episode of the podcast we're doing. I want to welcome you to our new show on the channel, and I want to introduce my guests. First, we have my brother. His username is hotshot88 in Discord. We got Ronnie, we got Owen, and we got Matt. So I'm sorry if I keep looking to the left. That's where they actually are in the screen. So, let's break it down, guys. We had there's a lot to talk about here. Let's start at the top, non-spoilery. Your high level thoughts, Ronnie. Go ahead.
Like this, I watched it when I first dropped at 3 a.m. Joe. I don't know if I told you that.
You were committed to the grind.
I feel like, I liked it a lot. I was a little lost in the beginning. I was like, what the hell are they doing? Like, what does any have to do with anything?
Yeah, it definitely.
But as it got as you got deeper into like the actual what do you call
the plot?
I guess more of like the story bits. Yeah, the plot bits where like it zones in, zones out. There's gonna be specific parts where you kind of just see more of the plot form versus other parts, and I feel when you see that part, it just something that I found really interesting. It makes me theorize for things. So I'm going in this fresh. I haven't read anything about it. I've just known that it's in the making, and I'm just going in fresh. So.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Who else? Is everybody but me pretty much fresh on this? Like nobody's read any comics. Like Nick, you've got some background comic knowledge, but you haven't read anything like recent, right?
Yeah, probably a little bit. I have more knowledge than Ronnie does. A little less than you.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
But Matt and Owen, you're both kind of like just really.
I'm completely fresh. I have never read a comic in my life.
All right.
Completely forgot that this was even coming out until like it came out. So.
All right. Well, glad to know that Owen's really committed to the MCU right now. All right. Who wants to go next with their top level thoughts?
I'll go.
All right. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I felt like I just witnessed. I feel like I just saw that '70s show, except it's in black and white. I don't really know. I wasn't expecting this. It's a Marvel show, so I was like expecting a little bit of action, some more powers. I felt like, we saw powers, but it was more like, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, for sure. And it felt almost a little like goofy, like old timey. You know what I mean? There weren't major effects with it or anything. I feel like the closest. Yeah. So I don't know. But I did like the aesthetic. I felt like they were trying to do this, and they did that pretty well. So.
Yeah. Owen and Nick.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Well.
Go ahead, Owen.
I was like slight confused at first because I was just like, wait, what? They just threw me into this, and I'm like, what? Like straight like I Love Lucy, but like weird because they know it's not, and they're acting like it is or something. It's weird. Yeah.
All right, Nick.
Otherwise, it was like.
Nick, go ahead.
It was. I enjoyed it.
Oh, shut up.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I can definitely see the points that it's slow right now, but I think they're purposely doing that to show the moments of when you can see there's something in the background going on, and I think it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to see what it ends up being.
Yeah, so I'll give my top level thoughts. Into this, I knew it was going to be a slow burn just because of how it had been pitched to me, and it very much just drops you in. And I'm glad they did a 2-episode drop. They didn't do 1 episode and then be like, you gotta wait, or they do a Tuesday and a Friday drop. They just dropped both on Friday at the same time, which I think benefited it, because if you have 2 back-to-back weeks of black and white, I think the audience may not have held on as long. General audiences, at least. But let's get into a little bit more spoiler territory, I guess. So what does everybody think is going on?
I have my theories. Okay, so when I was first watching it, going in, because I didn't read anything about it, I wasn't sure if this was post Infinity War or pre Infinity War. So going in, I thought it was pre-Infinity War, like what they were doing out like between Civil War and Infinity War. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if
It's
they
post
confirmed that or
Endgame.
not.
It's been
Okay, yeah.
confirmed that
So yeah,
it is indeed post
that,
Endgame.
that's what I was thinking. So what I was thinking was that maybe this will tie into some of their other series or into some of the maybe even movies. I know it's going to tie into everything, but as far as what it's going to tie into mainly, I feel like it might tie into the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. And I feel like what's happening now is that maybe Wanda is trapped somewhere. She's in some kind of trance, and they're trying to get her out of it. And this is all going on in her head. That's
Okay.
so far as to what I've gotten from it, from what I've watched. And this is going in completely fresh. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. You guys can correct me if I am.
Anybody else
Yes.
have anything like drastically different than what Ronnie's got going on, theory wise?
Not drastically different.
I mean, I got one.
Okay, lay it on me.
Agree with Ronnie, but I got one where it's like, I would like all that. In Spider-Man: Far From Home, it was Mysterio, right?
Yeah.
And, all that like illusion stuff thing. I thought like, I mean, maybe that's got something to do with it, but I mean, I mainly think it's like in her head because like at like the end of the second episode where she just like straight up like rewinds time.
Yeah.
Like pulls a killer queen. I mean, if you watch JoJo's, you'll understand that.
Wow, how long did we make it before an anime reference?
3 minutes.
Yeah, not long. Matt, you got anything you wanna? Matt, your camera turned off.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you, but your camera.
We can hear
turned
you,
off,
but
bro.
we can't see you.
Yeah, you guys were lagging a lot. I'm good now though. I can hear you guys.
All right, well, that's cameraless. But Matt, do you got any theories? All right.
Now can you see me?
Yeah, now I can see you.
Yeah.
Do I have any theories?
Yeah, anything?
I didn't really hear Ronnie's, so I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't really hear Ronnie's, so I don't really know if I'm gonna repeat anything he said. But I mean, I really know nothing about WandaVision, and like I never read the comics, obviously, so I don't know if she's in a dream. I guess I don't know if I really know nothing. Honestly, I have no theories. I'm kind of going into this blind, but there's a message of fitting in. I don't know if she's, I don't know if she. I don't know. I have no idea, honestly.
Okay, so from what I can see,
no idea. No.
Yeah, the biggest theme out of everybody right now is like it's a lot of intrigue and mystery, and I think it's very telling that in the actual like Disney Plus app, when you look at it, the first thing is romance, and it's because the show is so much around Vision and Wanda as a couple. But the second thing is mystery. Mystery comes before drama, sci-fi, superhero stuff. This is gonna be a very much of a slow thing. Because just about the only thing we know is that it is post Endgame. I myself read Tom King's Vision run, which I just wanted to read to get a little bit of a background on what they're basing off of, because they're basing it kind of in between House of M, Tom King's Vision run, and a couple other things that essentially, as we've seen Wanda since Age of Ultron, her powers have only gotten stronger. She got close to taking out Thanos in Endgame by herself before he had to drop an entire load of missiles on her. So I think where I'm at theory-wise is that
I don't even know who you are.
she... so the character Agatha, who's kind of like her buddy, there's a witch in the comics, Agatha Harkness, or I think it's Agnes, or whoever's in the show. But the character in the comics is Agatha Harkness, so I think they... shortened her name, but essentially I think she and Wanda had a conversation, and she was like, I miss this so much, and Agatha opened up her mind to see what her power level really is at, and was like, you can create your own reality, which is why I think it's so based in like perfection, which I think was a big theme throughout the first 2 episodes. Of like the first episode, Vision had to be perfect in their dinner with his boss because he wanted to get that promotion and whatnot. And then the second episode, she had to be perfect for the talent show to make sure it all went right. So I think she's got this ideal in her head, and it definitely plays on the 50s and 60s sitcoms of those tropes go very well together, and I think it's going to be very interesting going into next week, which should be 70s if we're following the timeline relatively correct. of where we're gonna go. So I'm wondering when this perfection is gonna start to break, because we saw it break once in episode 1 with the big during the dinner scene and the choking, and then it broke twice or maybe 3 times. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. In episode 2 with the helicopter, and then the
like 3 times
break
almost.
the beekeeper.
The
Oh,
helicopter.
and blood. 4 actually.
The
right?
time when the Dottie cuts her hand. That was something.
Well, can we agree that
Oh,
the
yeah,
beekeeper
no,
scene was completely different? We literally saw her rewind and do that little thing.
But
Oh, no, yeah.
I think that's the reality kind of like starting to break. So it's the simulation
mean,
starting to break.
You guys count like the radio thing that was happening on the
definitely.
radio, and also the thing at Dahlia? Do you count that as like one thing together, or like 2 separate things?
I mean,
I
it,
like one thing.
it happens.
I
In
feel like
the
it's
same
kind of
thing, but-
together. I mean,
yeah. But yeah, I
like, are they
particularly
related,
loved
or?
the moments that they used. I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a delay, so I keep cutting people off. I'll finish this one piece and then just quiet. But I loved in episode 2 how they used color. When they started throwing it in there, they used it for the helicopter. They used it for her name was Dahlia, right, or something like that.
Dottie.
Yeah.
Dottie.
Dottie.
When Dottie cut her hand, and then used it in the final scene when color starts returning to the world, and she is pregnant, and we see everyone in their full color costumes.
That's something I'm confused about. The whole pregnant thing.
The color?
Yeah, me too.
I felt so out of the cut.
The pregnant?
No, the pregnant stuff. Like when she became pregnant. Yeah.
Okay, so
That's something from the comics.
Well, they had sex the night
Yeah, that's what I was
before.
thinking. Because I know. Oh, that's true. You do have.
That's how babies are
No,
made.
I
That
know.
was, like,
I know.
the
I know.
night
In the
before.
comics, they have a whole thing about them having a kid, and then something. That's like from what I vaguely know from the comics, but I don't know how that's gonna play into the show. Nick or Joe, do you guys have any inference on that?
I'll take this real quick. She wants kids and she wants Vision back, so I think it just plays into that reality of she wants the kids.
The future she could have had.
The future she could have had, yeah, definitely. But there are a couple different characters that have been thrown out of in the comics, at least, that wanted to take her kids. So I'm not entirely sure if that's the route they're going, or they're just going to use them as a plot device, and it's not really going as a MacGuffin, and it's not really going to go anywhere. But I think there's definitely a chance that the villain of this show, or whoever it is, whether it be Agatha or Agnes, and if some other force, if it's the Beekeeper, even though I think the Beekeeper was S.W.O.R.D. I think that the kids are definitely going to be a big plot point, and I'm interested to see where that goes next week.
I want to add something because I noticed. I guess this might build up to a theory I'm having. Just because, is it possible? Do you guys think that maybe she's being surveyed by someone or something? Because there was a scene where kind of, I guess, at the end of the first episode, we're kind of zoomed out, almost like it was like a broadcasting station. Also, the radio keeps calling her name. I don't know if you guys see what I'm saying.
Yeah. I kind of see that because how I've read it or just thought how the show was going is like somehow after Endgame, the dusting, she ends up getting to like an abandoned military town, and she like takes it over, and it's her imagination that's filled everything in. So then it's like that military outlook or like base is now surrounded by actual military. So they have some ability to like get connected to different things, but then it's like she's running interference with it, so it might not be coming through clearly like what you see with the static.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the helicopter, the side of the helicopter had a S.W.O.R.D logo. So S.W.O.R.D is essentially going to take over S.H.I.E.L.D. Is taking over that role in Phase 4. Just a heads up for whoever didn't know. It's more of like an intergalactic type deal. So that's probably who's on the outside trying to get in. Just throwing that out there.
I'm assuming all those like little mid cuts, like the commercials, almost like one for the Stark Industries. Like what was that? Like a toaster oven.
Yeah,
And
that
there's
actually
the Hydra Watch.
a bunch of people have picked up on some symbolism behind that. I don't know. Has anybody else seen that online before we recorded?
Nope.
Um,
No,
No.
So
the commercial
in
stuff was pretty cool.
yeah, episode 1 we had the Stark
Like, I
Industries
liked
toaster
Toaster.
commercial. People are kind of connecting the dots here with the commercials, and Tony's bomb was what killed her parents. So that's toaster heating things up. That's episode 1. And then episode 2, we had Stryker, who was what gave her the powers, and the watch had a Hydra symbol on it.
Hydra symbol.
Strucker.
Yeah,
The
so
Strucker watch.
from Age of Ultron.
Oh, damn.
Who we haven't seen since Age of Ultron, but he was part of the experiment that gave her powers after the aftermath. So I'm interested to see.
Was he alive after Age of Ultron?
Yeah, he turned himself in.
Okay.
From
Didn't
that
know.
whole scene, he
I
tells
completely
everybody
forget from that.
dead.
he tells everybody not to surrender, and then immediately tells, "I'm gonna surrender."
Oh, all right. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, Matt, what was you said? Because I had another thing to follow up on.
What is it that I said?
Yeah, there was another little.
You're
piece
talking
of
about the commercials?
before the commercials. We were talking about something else that I'm now having a brain fart on.
Before the commercials, were we talking about the simulation kind of thing,
Yeah,
or what is she in? Like people surveying her?
yeah,
You were talking about the like end of the first episode where you see the person at like the computer screen.
okay, yeah. So
Like a broadcasting station.
yeah, that whole thing. That actually, Nick pointed out to me when we originally watched it that it looked like a female hand, and I kind of was like, I don't know, it could be whatever. But then upon rewatching it at the beginning of episode 2, it definitely looked more female, and it could be Agatha or Agnes's hand. But the main point I wanted to make before I go off, I'm gonna throw that back to everybody else. But that in episode 2, the whole way that they were introing the show with the kind of hand drawn animation, and then what they did with the panning out in episode 1, sitting on the couch, that is riffing on the Dick Van Dyke Show and Bewitched. And then in the hand-drawn animation, there was a character, a dead head from the Visions run of that was referenced. But I'm not sure if that's playing into any of it. I've seen a couple theories online, but I'm gonna throw it back to everybody else.
Oh, so are they like doing like a different like decade per episode?
Yes. So it started in
What
the
they're
50s.
doing? Okay, so the first one was in the 50s. Okay,
60s,
okay, that's pretty cool.
Next week,
60s.
70s. I was talking
I feel
about
like you
it.
can tell by the change of.
Oh yeah, because of the color.
Yeah, that's
Not only that, but I feel like Wanda's wardrobe.
yeah,
was a big corner of
a
that.
wardrobe is definitely
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
a big thing.
I was kind of confused because I thought it was like still in the 50s.
No,
most of the
it
second
went
episode?
10 years, 10
was
years
like-
further.
Okay. I was like, why is she wearing pants? And I was like,
So as far as the series going,
This is
since
big.
Vision is dead, and this is kind of like a whole like in her head type thing. Do we know if at any point she's ever gonna come to, or what would happen if she does? Because obviously, if she does come to, and it's in the real world again, in the real reality, Vision would no longer be there. So what would happen to that whole title, and what would go on from there?
I mean, I have my theory. Does somebody want to go so I'm not hogging the floor?
Well, in the comics, before going back, it's all ties together. But with the kids in the comics, her kids died, and then she said a famous line in the comic books of "There no more mutants," and then there was a whole different storyline from that. So she has a lot of power. So I think what it'll end up being is she kind of realizes it's being all in her head so far, but I think somehow she's gonna actually make it become into like real life.
So what? Vision might come back to life.
Yeah, from what I see
Or would
with
it be a different
Russell, in
Vision?
like modern day, you see the two of them together. So I don't think it's like Vision stays in her head, or she might just be seeing him, and then we see it as the audience, and then no one else in the world of that in the MCU will see Vision. But I don't know. It should be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
exactly like are her powers? Like I'm still kind of confused on like what her powers like in case.
She's Omega level, essentially. In the comic, she's an Omega level mutant, which has essentially you start tapping into every single power. She has telekinesis, kind of, and taps into his cosmic energy. So she's kind of like, she's definitely a witch. But the extent of her powers have only kept growing. So where she's at now, her power level, it's definitely toward the top of what she has, but her specific powers, strengths, and weaknesses are not really known. She's kind of like an unkempt quantity.
Yeah. So
Can I ask you guys something?
Which is how like
Yeah.
go for it.
As far as so in the Avengers, could she ever like make something like come to reality out of her mind? Because I swear I've never seen that. So is that something, one of the newer powers that you just mentioned? I thought she could only shift things around with the red.
I think it's
kind of
showing
like,
her becoming more used to her
Stronger.
powers. Because
Nick,
when
your
we
phone's
first
falling.
see her in Ultron, she's been with Stryker, but it's not like she's been able to get out, and she's given the powers by Stryker, so it's like the beginning of her timeline. And then we see it each time we see her again. She's a little more powerful. Endgame, she goes 1-to-1 with Thanos. So I think now we're seeing like the fullest extent of what she can do.
okay, cool.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of pieces that are at play here with her power level and exactly what the simulation is. If it's her or the villain putting her in that, and I definitely think it's starting. It definitely showed that it was starting to break in episode 1 and 2, especially with the beekeeper at the end. But I think there's lots of things that it could be, and from the clues we have so far, I don't have any solid evidence of being like, I know exactly what this is. This is very much in the mystery of we are still in the dark. Since we kind of covered a lot, is there anything anybody wants to talk about before we start hitting on a little bit of like our future expectations for the show?
Did we address the beekeeper more specifically?
No, we hadn't. We've danced around it, but go ahead.
Like,
Lay it on us.
I mean, that's a very specific kind of thing. I don't know if that's supposed to mean anything. The helicopter was pretty random too, so I don't know if.
Well, on the
I feel like
helicopter,
all of
you see
those.
the
I
logo
feel like
for
all of
S.H.I.E.L.D.
those.
I mean, S.W.O.R.D.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
S.W.O.R.D.
missed it.
I feel like all of those
there
are kind of
was.
just inferences of people, of kind of just her coming to reality. So whether the beekeeper is actually a beekeeper or just some random marker in her head, and then that's like how she's envisioning it. I feel like it's just another showing of how it's breaking through to her at this point, and she's kind of breaking more and more as the series goes.
Yeah,
It's just
go ahead, Nick.
this is something I read into it, but I might be stretching. Like, did you ever watch the old Avengers cartoon, Matt?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, like one of the main continuing villains is AIM. So, and their minions, like their grunts, are usually in like yellow hazmat suits that kind of, and they like call themselves beekeepers, and they have a bee symbolism kind of running through their organization. So I think that's me reading into some possibility of what the beekeeper might be, but it's not like nothing solid
I
from
feel like
that.
that's a good.
Just
I feel like that's a good read.
Oh, true. I forgot about AIM being a thing.
Yeah,
yeah. So, and there's the rumors of what's the big guy in the big head, Joe?
Power Man is what
MODOK.
I'm thinking off the top of my head, but the floating head
Yeah, the villain.
for
MODOK.
this show.
MODOK.
The tiny
No,
little T-Rex
he's supposed to be
arms.
the villain for Ant-Man. No, not Ant-Man. Oh God, what was his?
Oh, he sits in the chair.
Yeah, he was in Civil War.
MODOK.
Yeah, MODOK. Yeah,
Ronnie had
MODOK
it.
was rumored to be in future projects, so I think that might be something. But
It
Yeah.
could be.
Oh,
I
cool.
feel like that's a bit of a stretch. I know they're definitely going to bring MODOK in for Ant-Man 3 as part of that, probably. I mean, he was in one version of the script, but he could not be anymore because they switched that more to a Kang. Oh, bless you. A more Kang-centric storyline. I feel like the Beekeeper, it's a good call, and it definitely could be that, but I'm not sold. I don't have enough evidence to put all that together.
As far as who we know
okay.
is kind of surveying her, like Matt said, do we know who that is? Is it S.W.O.R.D, AIM? What is the relationship between S.W.O.R.D and AIM? Because he said S.W.O.R.D is going to basically be the foot in for S.H.I.E.L.D. as Phase 4 enters. Do we know what the relationship is with AIM? or not really?
Well, we haven't seen AIM since Iron Man 3. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure if we're ever going to see AIM again. It would be a good call to have that be like a weird thing where they're two factions fighting over who gets control of this and who's trying to figure it out. One's trying to research it for bad purposes, and the army's just trying to get her back under control. Because talking into the future, we know Randall Park from Ant-Man 2, who was the FBI agent, and Monica Rambeau, who was the little kid in Captain Marvel, who's now going to be big, or a grown-up, are going to be involved later in the show, and so is Darcy from the Thor franchise. So we've got 3 characters that we haven't seen yet that are going to come into play. We've heard Randall Park's voice. That's who was reaching out to her as Wanda. Wanda, who's doing this to you? But S.W.O.R.D is definitely...
Oh, that was him?
Yes. Yeah, that was him. At least I recognize his voice. It could be somebody different. But there's still a lot of pieces that have been teased at that are going to keep coming in more each week. So I think those forces are definitely going to keep breaking through. We know that Monica Rambeau eventually breaks through the reality from the trailers. So we're gonna eventually see her in the simulation trying and convince Wanda of what's going on outside and that she's kind of putting a lot of people in danger. But we're not exactly sure. We can't put it together just yet. There was one more thing I wanted to touch on just now that I'm thinking about it. In episode 2, when they're doing the talent show, they keep talking about how the talent show is for the kids. I did see a post today on Twitter before we recorded about that possibly being a reference to Mephisto, who's another theory villain, that he's trying to steal her kids. So I just want to keep that in everybody's mind as we keep going forward. But we've touched a lot already
on 40 minutes of what we've seen.
Yeah, there's 40 minutes. We've touched pretty much every minute of it. I wanna get some predictions for what we're gonna see next week in episode 3. Keep in mind it's gonna be 70s and the kids are gonna be more involved. So I want to throw that back out to everybody, and we'll start with Ronnie and go around of what are we thinking we're gonna see next week.
All right, so like I said, I was going in fresh, and the whole pregnancy thing, I was kind of like, what's going on with that? I didn't know if she was just going to be pregnant for that little bit, and it was just going to be kind of something they blew off or kind of just didn't care about, and then she's going to be like back to normal by the end of it. But then during the setup of this whole thing, Joey, you were going through some photos of like promotional work for the show, and I actually saw like the baby there.
Yeah,
and
twins.
Yeah, I saw one. I didn't know there was gonna be 2 or 3, but I'm just kind of, I don't have any specific predictions, but I'm saying all I'm thinking of is how this baby is gonna be in terms of a combination of both Wanda and Vision, in terms of powers, in terms of personality. Will we see these kids grow? I think, as far as I think with your whole theory, because there's a lot of things that I don't know is going on, and things I can speculate on, or things that if we speculate on, I can throw in there too. I feel like if she does have kids, do we know if she has any kids in like the actual reality, or if she was ever pregnant or no?
Not in the reality before Endgame. We have never had any confirmation of children.
So then, in that sense, I feel like as the series progresses, it's going to show that kind of family dynamic of what she would have wanted, and kind of, at least for this first season, my prediction is that it's just going to be that build up to that. And I feel like maybe around the end or the final 2 episodes, maybe the last one, it'll show her breaking out of that reality she built in her head more and more. But until then, I feel like it's going to show that dynamic of more of what she would have wanted from her life had the Vision not been taken away from her.
Okay. I've got some thoughts to respond, but I'm going to keep them in the back for right now. Matt, go ahead.
I mean, I'm kind of on the same page as Ronnie as far as predictions. Everything's catching me by surprise because I went into this really blind, but I feel like 2 episodes where you're only getting kind of hints of anything like typical you'd see from a Marvel movie, anything like intense, any action scenes. I feel like 2 episodes is already going pretty long with that pattern. I think maybe next episode, I'm predicting that we're probably going to get a little more, maybe action, hopefully. You did say it's going to be 70s, right?
Yes.
Maybe that's a long shot. Honestly, I have no idea. Like, I don't know if it's going to be the same sitcom style like this. I have no idea.
Okay. Owen?
Oh well, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of on the same page with that, but like that one moment at the end of the second episode where like where she like rewinds time and stuff and then like alters it. I mean, I hope they kind of play on like use that kind of concept more, because I mean, I don't know. I like time kind of stuff where like you mess with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope there's more of that, but otherwise, I mean, do hope there's a bit more action, but like I do like how it's like slowly building up stuff. Like it's just like it's more of like just the story, not pure action, like how like a lot of the movies were, where they tried to like put a lot more emphasis on action.
Okay, Nick?
I think we'll probably see another instance of you see that time rewind where something she doesn't want to happen, and so rewind it. And I'm also predicting maybe by the end of next episode, we'll see the first cut from Wanda and Vision to a different character. Maybe it's like Darcy at that screen we see at the end of the episode, and then we finally see her turn around and say something to like Randall Park or something. But that's my prediction for next episode.
Okay, good calls. Ronnie, I want to go hit back to your point really quick about the pregnancy. I think that's a one thing that they've definitely hidden a lot from the main trailers, that it's either going to be this thing that's going to come in hot and then just go out, or I definitely think that these two characters that she has now created may be here to stay, and they're definitely going to play a big part in this show. It's rumored right now that this is the only show so far that's running for a 1-season arc, and that's because of the effects that it has. As of right now, everything I've seen is that this is the only one that has potential for 1 season. Hawkeye could be another one that's just 1 season, but this is very much going to be a limited show.
Run.
They're gonna tell their story, and it's gonna affect the universe, and we're gonna see a lot of the repercussions in Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 3, and just everywhere from here.
Every Marvel thing from here on
out.
We real quick, do we know how many episodes is in this season?
9. So that's what I was just getting ready
9.
to walk everybody through before we get into just final thoughts, and then we're gonna talk one piece of Marvel news this week before we close out. So this week was 50s and 60s. Next week is 70s, which is episode 3. Episode 4 is going to be 80s. 5 is 90s. 6 we get to 2000s. 7 could, in theory, be 2010. I'm not really sure how long they're going to stick around and keep playing in the sitcom era, so I don't know if they're going to do a 2010. There's not enough to do a 2020. But that still leaves us 2 solid episodes of content that are not going to be sitcom based. I think it could happen earlier. 2010 is still a bit of a stretch, so we could have 3. My predictions for next week, I definitely think we're going to see more of the kids and what she's going through pregnancy. I don't know if we're actually going to see the kids yet. That may be a next week or a 2 weeks from now thing. But we're definitely going to see more kids stuff. They're gonna go more in on that for sure, in my opinion. And then from there, I like Nicholas's call here. I really want to stress this. I like Nicholas's call that we're going to break and we're going to see some outside world stuff, whether it be bad guy or good guy. But yeah.
So only the kids are aging?
We're not sure. That's part of
we're not sure if they're even real.
Yeah, we're not sure because of the whole reality mind-bending thing that's going on, that we're not sure if the kids are even real. We're not sure how they're going to age, what exactly the deal is. We just know that Wanda and Vision's wardrobe changes each episode. So far, that's what we know, and we are left with, in episode 2, that she is now pregnant. So I think next week's going to play into that. Whether she loses the kids, they get stolen, I don't know exactly where this is going to go, but I definitely think for right now, it's going to keep revolving around the two of them and the crew that we've seen so far, but I think the kids are going to play a big role in next week and episode 4. My prediction for Arc, I think next week may be a little slower, but it's going to have some more reveals. And then 4 and 5 are going to be where we're going to see some really big stuff happen in my mind. But that's it for me on my thoughts. I've made it pretty clear that I'm really enjoying this so far. I know it's going to be a slow burn, but I'm excited for what's to come. I'm just so happy that Marvel Studios is back producing stuff, and it's going to be out. And it doesn't look like we're going to have any shortage of it anytime soon, because we roll straight on from this into Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Loki, and then Black Widow, their animated series, and then it's looking like Hawkeye, and then Miss Marvel to close out the year. So I'm excited. We got a lot of content coming. We're gonna try and keep this podcast weekly and throw in some more stuff when it comes. I'm sure we're gonna have a breakout episode talking about the Snyder Cut and whatnot. But yeah, everybody give your final thoughts, and then we're gonna break down the Chris Evans news from this week.
Episode, or just in general the series, I feel like with Phase 4 starting and Phase 3 closing off that whole big Thanos era, I was going into the Phase 4 kind of just lackluster, kind of not really expecting much, or not really anticipating much. I thought that really Doctor Strange was going to be interesting, Spider-Man, and maybe some of the other works they were doing, but I was afraid that they were going to forget too much about these original characters they have already built up, so much so in these past 3 phases. And I feel like WandaVision kind of gave me that kind of hope. Not really. I don't know how I'm describing that well, but it kind of brought me back into the idea of I'm excited, and it's piqued my interest to kind of see what they're going to do for this next phase in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, oh, you can go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna follow up on one quick point. I like how you're talking about how Phase 4 was that Infinity Saga focus, and now we have no idea what the focus is. And I really enjoy that this first thing that we're seeing is so character focused, and it's gonna have a lot of repercussions. But I enjoy that it's not so much trying to introduce all of these new characters we haven't seen yet. It's focusing on 2 characters that didn't get enough screen time, in my opinion, in the first 3 phases. Matt,
Oh yeah,
go ahead.
definitely.
Ronnie, if you have any more quick thoughts. Ronnie.
Oh, me?
Do you have anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I wanted to add on to my prediction after hearing what you had to say about it. You know how you mentioned how you would see them later on in the future, like we saw them in more of like a more present timeline almost in like our reality. Part of me wonders whether or not that's not necessarily our reality, but if they're going to be more urbanized as the series goes on, as cities build and stuff like that, going to the 2000s or maybe even the 2010s, and maybe that's just what we're seeing, and it's not actually our reality. And part of me wonders if in this reality she's showing through her head, if she's going to be showing major Marvel events from her perspective or from an outsider's perspective to see actually what the impact of the MCU was on the greater world. Kind of, if you get what I mean, like maybe in the 2000s you'll see some more Iron Man influenced stuff, like events that actually happened according to like what actually happened throughout the movies and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just kind of what I'm closing off. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen around those 2000s era, or how they're going to handle that 90s era more or less. And yeah.
Okay, Matt?
Joe?
You guys didn't hear me screaming earlier, did you?
No. Just like we didn't see Nicholas's nose for most of the podcast.
All right. No, yeah, I pretty much agree with everything Ronnie said. I think all the movies left a lot of open ends for a lot of different characters, but I don't feel like we're gonna get left loose just because they announced so many shows for this. I think everyone's gonna get their own story told, and we're not gonna get any missing puzzle pieces here. But overall, yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. I think the show, like you said, is definitely a slow burn, but it's definitely gonna get interesting. So yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, Owen, wrap us up, or Nick will wrap us up. But Owen, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I'm pretty excited for how they're like all these shows are mainly focusing on characters who appeared in the movies but weren't like in their own like film.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They were all like they appeared in the Captain America movies mostly, but now they're getting their own like soul focused stuff, which is like definitely I think the right move to start off like this whole next phase. Because personally, was kind of sick of them like kind of introducing like a bunch of new people. I mean, I feel like the Captain Marvel movie was really just kind of thrown in there. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of to bridge the gap between some stuff between.
Yeah, they did
I
that.
don't know. It felt very out of place.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot more of that. Yeah, I agree with that comment.
Otherwise, I'm pretty excited for like just like stuff focused on the other characters.
All right, I agree. I'm gonna let Nick say his piece, and then
I've said everything.
Okay, he says he's good. I want to break down one final piece of superhero news this week. We got rumors yesterday from Deadline that Chris Evans will be returning as Captain America. It's rumored that he's in talk for contracts. But then, literally, not even an hour later, we see Chris Evans tweet, "News to me," with a shrug emoji. It kind of broke the internet for a little while yesterday, and a lot of people came out and said, well, the same thing happened with the She-Hulk casting. But I want everybody to kind of break down what they think, just really quickly. Real, fake? Ronnie, go ahead.
Stop bringing dead people back to life.
All right, well, Matt said his piece.
I feel like if they do bring him back, I feel like it'll be to showcase what he did in between that time when he went back with Peggy. Maybe in the past, maybe he's only going to be there for a couple of more or less like an Easter egg, more or less. Not a cameo. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
He's rumored for one picture definitely, and then option for a second.
Really?
So, I don't know if
that's the case. Then I'm thinking either it's the whole past thing or maybe a multiverse thing. But I don't think it's going to be our base MCU Captain America coming back.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, do I think it's real or fake? I feel like it could be real, and maybe that's something they wanted to keep under wraps, and they fucked up. It got out there somehow, and that was his like quick save to kind of like say, "Oh, not like I don't know. That's not confirmed to me," just as a way to keep that kind of mystery there. But I'm on the line. I'm on 50-50
it could just
on this.
not be confirmed.
Yeah,
that too.
It could just not be confirmed. So
I think he's baiting. I think he was looking for Twitter interactions and was tired of talking politics for a long time. I think he does a lot of good and whatnot, bringing people together in that regard. But I think he's got a lot of pictures lined up between now and whenever he comes back that it's gonna scratch an itch. And I think that whatever this contract that he's signing is for him to come back, either in a Disney Plus series to see him and Peggy go through adventures in their alternate timeline, or to see him come back in a multiverse reality, or as a different character or whatnot. But yeah, Nick, you got anything you want me to relay?
I'd say true. I'd say probably if he comes back, it's multiverse, and they'll play on some multiverse aspect of it's Earth 2 now, and you get more definitive. There's the same characters that everyone here has grown up with, but they're all a little different, completely different stories. So maybe
kind of like What If,
yeah,
in a certain extent, but
that
we may get that live action.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the Loki series is gonna focus on the Loki from that alternate timeline we saw that took the Tesseract, correct?
You are correct.
Okay, so would that not implicate that there's a whole completely different reality of an MCU there that we can focus on as well?
Yep, which is why it's already been greenlit for a second season.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm kind of thinking more of. Maybe he'll appear in that, if anything, or in some kind of offshoot of that universe.
So I think it's real. I think he's looking for Twitter bait and interactions and whatnot. None of these guys are dead for long. RDJ has already been rumored multiple times to be coming back, and now he's rumored to be in Star Wars stuff. But if they're offered big enough paycheck and there's been long enough time that they want to come back and play with these new people that they have been and be around old people, that they love, because a lot of these guys are like family. They're gonna want to come back.
I mean, their retirements could probably just be a break, most likely. I mean,
yeah, pretty much. They want to cycle in new characters. They want to give young blood a new chance. So, I think if anybody has anything major they want to say, go ahead and say it now. But otherwise, I think I'm going to wrap up the show and give us the outro. Nope.
It's the outro, Joe.
I mean, probably real.
Yeah.
They better not make him the main
come
Captain
on.
America again. Like,
They're not.
The emotion of that scene where he was old and all that. Like, please don't ruin what.
Hey,
They
who'd you
Keep him dead.
fall for? No, I don't think I will. It's like, no.
Yeah, they're not gonna ruin that. They'll play on it. They'll bring it back in a cool, unique way. They haven't ruined one thing yet. They've had 23 movies, and in my opinion, they haven't ruined one thing yet. And until they do, they've got unlimited amounts of chances. In my book.
No mess up.
If it messes up, they can always say it's a different timeline.
No mess up.
Exactly.
I mean,
so
no mess ups.
I want to thank everybody who tuned in, and I want to thank everybody for participating. We'll be back next week to talk episode 3. Since it's only one episode, I'll make sure to bring in a couple extra news pieces at the end to talk about whatever big happened. Maybe we'll touch the Star Wars news if there's anything new and whatnot. But thanks guys for tuning in. Please make sure to like the video and give us your thoughts and theories on what's going to go on in the future, and hit the subscribe button. We'll be doing this every week for a long time. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.